Hi everybody, Jo here again. So you know what that means. Get that kettle on, let's have a brew and a catch up. I was hoping by now I'd be saying let's get a nice cool drink because I thought summer might be here. But no, I've just been to the post office and it is cold, it's raining, it's dark and miserable out there today. So it's get the kettle on. In fact, I think it might be the sort of day for a hot chocolate with marshmallows. So thanks for joining me, just popping in for one of our little chats, little catch up. And I have to say, today's little catch up is all about split scene stamping, which isn't easy to say. And thank you, I've had quite a few emails, and Mary, and then there was one off lovely Tracy. So thank you for those. And they were asking about split scene stamping. Now, I have to give credit. There's a lovely lady, Karen Orme, on our Lavinia Facebook page group, and she's been doing some fantastic samples of this. So, Karen, wonderful inspiration. Keep it up. Do you know what? I must say, that's what I love about the Lavinia family. We all credit each other, and it is lovely that we can share work and praise each other and credit it. None of us are divas that think we know everything and we've invented every single technique, because believe you me, there are some companies like that. But we're not like that. And as I say, Karen, the work you've done is absolutely fabulous. So do check her work out. It's lovely. So split scene stamping, which I'm going to stop saying. I might have to abbreviate it because it's not easy. I feel like I've got somebody else's teeth in today. I'm lucky, I've just done a magazine article on it for Creative Stamping magazine, and that's coming out in a couple of weeks. And all it is making a scene, stamping wise, obviously, and splitting it. I've got some examples to show you because I'm sure you're sick of looking at my bare mat here. I do think I should have maybe a little cartoon or something on here for you to look at while I chat away. So I've got a couple of samples here. This is one I did in a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and we were actually concentrating on cards that were ideal for men. And all it is we've stamped, very, very simple. We use the Lavinia trees, moon mask, just a nice simple design, but then cut it into 3. And just, there's no background on this one, no backing card, and we've just stuck it straight on. And this, what we've done is we've just offset the height a little. Now, I don't know if you remember a while ago, often in art and design, interior design has the same sort of trends, and triptychs were very trendy, and that was wall art that was divided up into 3 separate pictures or 3 separate canvases. You often see them in hotels, although there's not many of us been in hotels recently, have we? But anyway, and they were triptychs. So if these were the same size and in a row, it basically would be a triptych. But again, it's nice to mix things up a bit. So that's one way of doing it. And honestly, when you start doing this, I mean, got a little challenge for you to create a scene and cut it, because honestly, when I was doing the magazine, my head just was whirring in how many, there are just hundreds of possibilities, because that is your basic starting point. Now, obviously, if you want, you can do 4 equal. So again, this was a sample I did for one of my YouTubes, and because I keep them all, because I do, this one I've just cut into 4 equal parts and put it on, mounted it on black card. And again, you can decide on how big a gap here. It might be you want it the same as the edge, it might be you want it narrow, but again, that's where the fun starts. So my suggestion there is use a dry clear glue, or one that you've got movable time, bit of wiggle room, because you need a bit of wiggle room. And I'm sad, I'm one of these. I get the ruler when I've and I'm like this, trying to get it so that it's straight and equal. But again, that's just me. But you know, if you send cards, I mean, I'm lucky. My sister, bless her, she keeps all the cards I send her, and she has them pinned up in the kitchen. So I have to be mindful never to send the sort of same card twice or the same design twice. So, and especially for men's cards where I think we struggle, your split scene stamping is a great alternative, just something a bit different. Now, as I say, you can start mixing it up a bit. When you mount it, you can do some stamping on your actual card blank as well, which is lovely. But also, this is when you start thinking of what and how can you cut it up. The one thing I did, I have to say, I found almost, I won't say a flaw, but you know me, I like to play and do things wrong so I can tell you so you don't. And I did have a go, and I wanted to make this side with 3 or 4 of these little tiles, and this side only with 2 like that. But you can't do that, because if you think about it, if here, my gap here is 1 on each side, so it's going to be even down here. But if I'd have made this, if I'd have cut this, say, even just once more, I would have needed to separate them, and I would have had black space. So this edge and this edge wouldn't be equal. So that's something you have to be mindful, is when you start adding more elements and cutting up more, you've always got to keep these sides so they are equal. And if you don't quite understand what I mean, have a go. Get some copy paper or some card and just have a go at cutting it up and seeing how to mount it, and it all will become clear. It's all about, you want these edges to stay parallel. So your gaps in the middle must be equal. So if I'd have cut this here, and that would have shifted that way because I would have had a black gap there, wouldn't I? So I would have had to cut this one to make sure that I mean, wouldn't have to cut it in the same place, but I would have to cut to keep that edge a bit further away. As I say, it's probably the sort of thing you need to do. So let's have a go at making one, shall we? And again, basically, you just make a scene and cut it up. But I love the thing in craft, you know. When I started off, and I used to hear all these terminologies, and I didn't know what they were, you know. And one thing I've always said to the ladies in the workshop is that we should make our own little almost glossary, little dictionary up with the phrases that we use and what they mean. Because the thing is, we've always got beginners, haven't we? We've always got people that are new, and I just think it's great that we can help each other, and that's what I love to do. So I'm just going to get my stamping platform, well, you know me, my copy of paper, and I have to say, this is so well used. Oh, look, obviously been doing a bit of gel press there. So I'm going to start just with a piece of card, and I think this is 5 inches. Yes, 5 by 5. But again, you can start on any size card. But if you've got a final card size in mind, again, it might be worth just doing it on copy of paper first, because obviously if you're going to have your gaps, it does extend it. So it's no good doing a 5 by 5 to go on, say, a 5.5, because you've not got enough room. Because obviously you need to take into account your spaces here, don't you? I'm sure you all realise that. And it might just be the way I'm explaining it. So I'm going to do something really simple today. And I'm just going to use the Fairy Bonnet set. I love this set. And I don't use it that often. So I'm just going to do a nice simple bit of stamping. And I'm just going to use black. Because that's often the thing, you know. With these, you can do wonderful scenes, you know, like we do where we add a lot, or because you're making more of the design feature, you can get away with a relatively nice, crisp, clean and simple design. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to put my longer of my stamping in the middle. And it's almost like making your own mini mosaics. I mean, again, you could do that. You know, what I really love about crafting is that I start with one thing and, you know, my mind just wanders and I end up with what starts as a, I don't know, maybe a simple, oh, split seam, we'll put it in 3, and then I end up thinking, well, how many could I get? Could I get 9? Could I get, oh, it could look like a mosaic. And I have to say, for me, and before you know it, you think your mojo's gone, but you've had such fun and you've created, and you're so intent on how many pieces can I get and what designs. I mean, it might be you've got some pieces that you've done and you're not particularly happy with. You know how we get some that we're not as happy as we are with others? Well, it might be that if you do them as a split scene, they'll take on a whole new light and you might just fall back in love with them. So I've just stamped the larger stamp, and then we'll come in with the smaller one. And again, I'm just using black. As I say, nothing complicated. And I want to just make it look like I've got a nice shape. And I'm going to cut it, but I want a nice shape for my design. So again, for a quick card, I like that design. Now I'm just going to blot that again. Remember, you're versifying, it's the slower drying ink, so it's always worth getting used to blotting it. That's all I'm going to do for my stamping. I'm going to add some colour. Now for me, you know me, the quickest way I can do this is a bit of pretend watercolour painting. So I'm just going to get some. Now I've used the burning bonfire. Oh, sorry, crackling campfire. Again, me and these words, it gets in my head. So it's the lovely orange, and I'm just going to be mindful and put a, otherwise if I get, now I'm going to do this quite quickly because you don't want to watch me. There's quite a few here. Now again, you see, if I'd thought about it, I'd have maybe only stamped a few. But for me, almost this watercolour painting with, I've got the inks on my desk, so it meant I didn't have to get anything else. Now, I could have used my pencils. I could have used my Inktense pencils. But I just thought today, just for speed, and especially this, because I'm going to split this into the scene, the colouring isn't going to be my main feature. I mean, obviously I want it to be nice, but it's just a way that I'm just thinking, say I was, you know, lastminute.com. I'll never forget when Mikey, bless him, used to live at home, and he came in one day and said, "Oh, Mum, I need a card. Can you do a card for my friend? It's his birthday." And I said, "Oh, yeah, no problem. When would you like it for?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to his party in half an hour. I'm just going up for a shower." So I think this could be a design for one of those times where you suddenly, I mean, I dare say, I mean, have any of you done that thing where, I mean, one of the ladies at the workshop, a friend came round with a Christmas card and she hadn't made her one. And she literally said, "Oh, I'm just nipping to the bathroom. I'll make us a brew. I'll put the kettle on and I'll nip to the bathroom." And she went into a craft room and quickly, she had a topper she'd made up and made it into a card. So I think we all have little moments like that, don't we? I must say as well, thank you for all your comments and your messages. It is lovely to hear from you and to know that when I do come into your houses crafting, and you know what, it's lovely to hear how many husbands watch as well. So hello to you husbands out there. Although I think, to be honest, you're just using it as an excuse to have an extra brew and a cheeky biscuit myself. And I do like the idea of somebody developing a biscuit and calling it a cheeky biscuit. So I think that's lovely. I think we just have to decide what sort of biscuit we're going to have, though. Right, well, that didn't take long, did it? So for me, that's just a little bit bare. I don't want to add too much colour. So I'm just going to add some of those splats. You know I love these. But for me, this is a way of taking away that, we don't want it too white, although it's a clean and simple. You see, although that's not totally white, from a design feature, it's still classed as white space because it's not too busy. So that, to me, just finishes that off. Now, normally, I would leave it to dry. But as I say, we're doing that thing of, we're needing this card quickly, so we can't let it dry naturally. So we'll just whiz the heat tool over it a little bit. And this is the quieter one, so hopefully won't be too loud on your ears. Now, just to add a little bit of sparkle, the fairy bonnet's got a little, almost a little edge on it, look. And that's where I can come in. This is the gold signal. And if I just, and again, this is one of those things that gives you maximum impact, almost for little effort. These pens are fabulous. I must admit, each time I put an order in, I just order a different colour. But I have used this gold one an awful lot. So just, and again, it's just going over where, just let me, oh, there we go. I thought it had given up the ghost on me, but no. It does make me laugh that how I automatically go onto the back of the card. If ever you get a card from me, check the back. I bet there's either another design or something. Mind you, sometimes you find that with paintings, don't you? You know, where they've discovered these fantastic paintings by that are underneath other paintings, other works of art. Oh, look at that. I don't know if you can see that. So that's just enough sparkle without being too much. Then I want to add a little bit. I've got this glitter Posca. Now, if you haven't got these, oh, they're rather lovely. And I'm just going to, just on some of the larger ones, just where I just want a bit more shade, but also with it being a glittery Posca, it's just going to add a bit of oomph. And just on these larger ones. Now, remember with your Posca, I mean, some of you have said you've ended up getting ones with nibs that are too big. Now, if that happens, remember, you can put your Posca on your mat and then take a paintbrush and actually paint it on. So don't worry if you've ordered a Posca and it's come with the wrong size, the nib's too large, or even if you just wanted to use it in areas like this, you can just paint with it. So all you're doing is putting it on your mat and turning it into a paint and painting with it. I mean, again, that's the beauty of these products. And if you wanted, you know, look, we can even add some little glittery Posca splats. I'm not adding any more because I don't want to over pizza it. But again, that's another little tip. Now, for me, you've got choices here. And this is where the fun starts. So you could very quickly, I mean, you could actually stamp yourself up 3 or 4 like this, couldn't you? And then it's your choices. Sorry, excuse me. So we could do this into 4, like the one that we saw with 4. We could go into 3 even ones if we wanted a triptych. We could just split it in 2. Now, if we wanted, we could split this, say, into 2 this way, and then even stamp up a 3rd. I mean, again, you could get yourself a little offcut like this, cut that at 5, and stamp your sentiment. You see, already, I mean, again, I'll just do this by eye. I mean, I keep all my offcuts. I don't know about you, and they're just next to my desk here. But that, so we could cut that across here. In fact, let's do that. Just give it a bit of a blow. So, now shall we go even or shall we? No, I think we'll go bigger at the top. Oh, go on, let's do this one even. Right, so that's 5, isn't it? So 2.5 inches. My rickety old guillotine. Sounds like my bones. So my suggestion would be, so here's your black card. And then look. And my suggestion is I would mount this and then cut the sides. But it's up to you. What you can do, you could put it roughly, measure, cut and then glue. But you see, I think that if I stamped a sentiment, I'd put it here. I think that would be lovely on a card. So I'm going to put that to one side because I'm going to do that after our little YouTube. But I have got one that I cut. So I did one earlier. And this time I cut it to be different in 3 different widths. Just because I liked the idea of that. So I went for a larger width first, then a narrower, and then the middle one. And the way I did that was I cut the first one at 2.5, and I knew that was halfway. And then I cut this one, and just that was what was ever left. So again, you could do it 3 even. And the way I would actually glue them is, let me find my glue. This one's dry, you see, so I know I can. Now I'm using a dries clear glue, just because then if any comes out, and I just use my finger to actually bring all the glue to the edges. And then I'm just going to decide just by eye and get the space equal there and there. Just hold that flat. And then on the next one. And again, same sort of thing. I just almost bring the glue out to the edges. It stops too much seeping out, but also just make sure that all those edges are glued. So we want that to be level at the top, don't we? And I'm sorry if my head comes in, but that gap. Now, like I say, you can use a ruler and just shove it up a little, knock it up. There we go, that's better. Right, and then this one. So I hope you have a go at this. I mean, like I say, honestly, there are so many possibilities. So if any of you are struggling at the minute with lack of mojo, just create yourself a nice, simple little design like this, and then have a go at cutting it and see how many different, so many different things you could do. And if you pop it in Lavinia on Facebook, please tag me in so I can see. Because as I say, it's so lovely that we do share ideas. And I mean, you might just give somebody else some inspiration. There we go. So again, I just use my ruler. Now again, I could cut this here, but a bit like we did before, I could, if I wanted, cut myself. And again, I'll just do this by eye. Obviously, I didn't do it before because it was no good doing it the 5 for this one, because we've got the gaps, haven't we? So they have to be taken into account. So I could stamp that up and then put that there as a sentiment. So again, I'm going to do that. So I'm actually going to glue this and I'll stamp it later, because I haven't actually got my sentiment stamps on the table with me. Because again, as you can tell, I'm just giving you these ideas as they come. Just wipe my fingers. The one thing, you know me, if you get glue on your fingers, just wipe it off. And then if we put that there, try and keep this gap as even as that gap. And again, use our ruler. Yep. And then I'll just bring in my, would help if I had a little paper trimmer, wouldn't it? It's well used, this. It's been with me a lot of years. Right, so let's just see by eye if we can. Then across the bottom. Now I haven't got a white, oh there we go, I have a white piece of card. Let's get rid of the black. There again, I will just cut that. So another combination, so I'm going to stamp that up. I may even add some of the little specks. I think I'll just add some there to finish that off. So it just shows you all these possibilities. So I'm hoping you have a go at these. So remember, it's called split seam stamping. And you know, if you've got any, such as toppers, such as I say, I save all mine. So these are some that we did from the watercolour. So straight away, I'm thinking, right, how can I, I'm going to have fun with that. So create yourself some little pieces of art, some little bits of, and then have a go at doing your split seam stamping. So I can't wait to see what you get up to. Honestly, there are so many possibilities for this. So you take care, everybody, and thank you for everybody who's doing the online workshops with me. I'm so thrilled with the feedback you're giving me. Honestly, it warms my heart. You are all so lovely. So you all take care. I hope the rest of the week's good for you, and I'll pop back soon. Love and hugs. Bye for now.